There is a silk blouse hanging at Nordstrom right now that costs $300. French seams, 100% mulberry silk sourced from Hangzhou, China. And over at your nearest Costco warehouse, a Kirkland Signature silk blouse sits on the rack at $29.99. French seams, 100% mulberry silk, sourced from the same city in China. The fiber is identical, the seam construction matches, and the only difference is the label sewn into the collar and the building where you bought it. But this is not just about a silk blouse. We found 7 items in the Costco clothing section that come from the same factories as designer brands, charging 3 to 10 times more. And one item on this list has a price gap so absurd we checked the numbers twice. We also found one category at Costco that does not hold up at all, and we are going to tell you exactly what to avoid. Here is how the Costco business model makes this possible. Costco caps its retail markup at 15%. That is a corporate policy baked into their business charter, and it has been in place for 4 decades. Walk into any Nordstrom or department store and the markup sits between 55 and 70%. Costco does not need that margin because roughly 70% of their net profit comes from membership fees alone. They have almost zero financial incentive to inflate the price of a cashmere sweater or a wool blazer. So when Costco contracts a garment factory in Inner Mongolia to produce a cashmere crew neck, and Nordstrom contracts the same factory to produce a cashmere crew neck with a different label, both garments roll off the same production line. One gets a 15% markup, the other gets a 400% markup. The garment does not know the difference. Your wallet does. We verified these supply chain connections 3 ways. First, fiber composition analysis comparing labels side by side. Second, U.S. Customs import registrations, which are public record. Third, our own flip, pinch, pull quality testing method from a previous video on this channel. Number 1. Kirkland Signature Cashmere Sweaters. $40 to $50 at your local Costco warehouse. The comparable cashmere crew neck at Nordstrom runs $198. At Theory, $365. If you watched our first Costco clothing video, you probably already own one of these cashmere sweaters. What we did not cover last time is the factory trail. U.S. Customs import data shows that Kirkland cashmere shipments and Notori cashmere shipments share the same port registrations from the same region of Inner Mongolia. The fiber diameter on Kirkland cashmere consistently measures 15 to 16 microns, which sits right at the boundary between Grade A and Grade B cashmere. A significant number of department store cashmere sweaters at triple the price pull from the exact same fiber grade, combed from the exact same Mongolian herding cooperatives. The difference is not the cashmere goat on the Mongolian hillside. The difference is the retail margin someone else takes home. Think about what cashmere actually is for a moment. It is the undercoat of a goat living at high altitude on the Mongolian steppe. Herders comb it by hand every spring. There is a limited global supply, roughly 15,000 tons per year. The raw cashmere fiber is expensive regardless of which clothing label ends up on the finished sweater. So when a department store charges $198 and Costco charges $45 for the same 15-micron cashmere fiber, the raw material cost is identical in both garments. The gap is pure retail theater. The cashmere sweater gets all the attention, but there is another natural fiber sitting 2 racks over in the Costco clothing section that tells the same story with even less ambiguity. Number 2. Kirkland Signature Merino Wool Crew Neck. $24.99. An icebreaker merino base layer runs $110. A smart wool classic merino thermal runs $90. Merino wool comes from a closed ecosystem. Australian and New Zealand sheep stations sell their fleece at auction houses, and a handful of major spinning mills process that fleece into yarn for the entire global market. When the Kirkland Merino crew neck measures 18.5 microns and Icebreaker specifies 18.5 microns on their label, that is not a coincidence. That is the same wool, from the same auction, processed at the same spinning mill, shipped to different garment factories that stitch on different labels. But here is what surprised us about the Kirkland Merino. The seams on the crewneck are flat-lock stitched. Flat-lock is a construction method used in performance athletic apparel, designed to eliminate bulk against the skin. It is what outdoor brands use in their technical base layers. You do not normally see flat-lock seam construction below $80 in a retail store. Kirkland does it for $25, 4 times cheaper, with seam construction that outperforms merino garments at 4 times the price. The merino wool speaks for itself. Now, everything we have covered so far has been textiles: merino wool, mulberry silk, Mongolian cashmere. But the same factory principle applies to a completely different material, and it might be the most underrated item in the entire Costco clothing section. Number 3. Kirkland Signature Italian Leather Belt. $19.99. A Cole Haan leather belt runs $78. A Coach leather belt runs $150. The label on the Kirkland belt says "Made in Italy," and that is not a vague marketing claim. Italian leather production is concentrated in the Tuscany region, where roughly a dozen major tanneries have been producing full-grain leather for centuries. These Tuscan tanneries supply everyone. They supply Coach handbags, they supply Cole Haan dress shoes, and they supply Kirkland Signature belts. The ecosystem is too small and too specialized for there to be a meaningfully different leather supply chain at this quality level. The quality test for leather is different from textiles. Smell the Kirkland belt. Genuine full-grain leather smells like leather, not like plastic or chemicals. Bend it in your hands. Full-grain leather creases naturally and recovers its shape. Press your thumbnail into the surface. Real leather shows a temporary mark that fades within seconds. The Kirkland Italian leather belt passes all 3 tests. 7 times cheaper than a Coach belt for leather from the same Tuscan tanning houses. And unlike most clothing items on this list, leather ages in your favor. A full-grain leather belt develops a rich patina over time that makes it look better after 3 years of daily wear than it did the day you bought it. That patina develops the same whether the buckle says Coach or Kirkland. Number 4. This is the item that generated more comments than anything else in our original Costco clothing video. The Kirkland Signature Women's Travel Pant, $15.99. Comparable Lululemon travel trousers retail for $108 to $128. Comparable Athleta travel pants run $89 to $109. In our first video, we compared the spec sheets. Today, we are going further. The Kirkland travel pant uses 91% nylon and 9% elastane at 170 grams per square meter. That fabric weight and fiber composition is functionally identical to what Lululemon uses in their nylon-based travel trouser line. The production sits in the same Vietnamese manufacturing corridor that produces performance apparel for multiple premium activewear brands. The construction on the Kirkland travel pant includes a double front closure, an elastic waistband at the back, and a zippered utility pocket on the leg. Wrinkle-resistant fabric, 4-way stretch. If you stripped the labels off both pants and handed them to a textile engineer in a lab, the spec sheets would be nearly interchangeable. For the price of 1 pair of Lululemon travel pants, you could buy 8 pairs of the Kirkland version and still have change left over for a Costco hot dog. That comparison got a laugh in our first video. The comment section told us it was also completely true. Women reported buying 3 pairs immediately after watching and then driving back to Costco for more. The cost per wear math on this travel pant is almost absurd. $15.99, worn 3 times a week for 2 years. That works out to 5 cents per wear. You cannot buy a gumball for 5 cents. But you can apparently wear Lululemon equivalent travel pants for that amount if you know where to shop. If you are finding this useful, subscribe. We cover the brands and retailers that deliver real quality for real prices across dozens of videos on this channel. And what we are about to show you in the next 3 items goes deeper into the supply chain than anything we have published before. Everything we just covered, the cashmere sweaters, the merino crewneck, the Italian leather belt, and the travel pants. Those are the comparisons that are relatively straightforward to verify. The next 3 Costco clothing items are where the supply chain evidence gets harder to ignore. Number 5. Kirkland Signature Ponte Blazer, $34.99 at Costco. A theory knit blazer at Nordstrom runs $395. An La Fleur Jardigan runs $195. Ponte fabric is a stretch-woven textile material that gives structured blazers their shape without the stiffness of traditional wool suiting. It is the fabric behind every throw-it-on and look-polished blazer that contemporary fashion brands sell. And Ponte comes from a very small number of textile producers, primarily in Vietnam and China, who supply the entire global Ponte market. The factories cutting Ponte fabric for Costco are the same factories cutting for contemporary designer brands. The Kirkland Ponte blazer uses a rayon nylon spandex blend with enclosed seams and a structured shoulder. The Theory blazer uses a triacetate polyester elastane blend with French seams. There are different fiber names on the care labels, but the same fabric category, the same weight, and the same drape on the body when you put them on. The $360 difference between these 2 blazers on the department store rack does not buy you a better blazer. It buys a Theory label, a boutique storefront on Madison Avenue in Manhattan, and a marketing campaign shot in a converted warehouse in Brooklyn. And that brings us to a fabric where the global supply chain is even narrower, which makes the price gap even harder to justify. Number 6. Kirkland linen blend pieces at Costco. These appear seasonally on the warehouse floor, usually between April and August. They are priced between $24.99 and $34.99. An Eileen Fisher organic linen blazer runs $248. A J. Crew linen blazer runs $198. Linen starts as European flax, grown primarily in the fields of Belgium and Ireland. That flax gets shipped to a small number of spinning mills, most of them in China, where it becomes linen yarn for the entire global fashion market. There are maybe 5 or 6 major linen spinning operations in the world producing at this quality level. Eileen Fisher sources from them, J. Crew sources from them, and Kirkland sources from them. The supply chain is simply too narrow for meaningful differentiation between the finished garments. The Kirkland linen blend sits at 55 to 60% linen and 40 to 45% rayon. That is the same fiber ratio J. Crew uses in their linen blend clothing items. The rayon adds drape and reduces the wrinkling that pure linen is famous for. Pure linen wrinkles the moment you sit down in a chair. The blend gives you the linen look and breathability without looking like you slept in your clothes by noon. Here's the practical catch with Costco linen. Their items are seasonal. They appear on the warehouse floor in spring, sell through by late summer, and do not come back until the following year. If you see Kirkland linen on the table, buy multiples. That is practical shopping advice from watching 3 seasons of Costco linen sell out before most shoppers even noticed it was there. There is something almost funny about the linen market. Eileen Fisher builds an entire brand identity around sustainable, natural, artisanal linen fabric. Their marketing features windswept flax fields in Belgium and artisan craftsmen in Ireland. And then the same Belgian flax ends up in a Costco blazer for $29, folded on a warehouse table next to a display of protein bars. The flax does not care about the brand story. It just wants to become a blazer. Now, number 7. Kirkland Signature Wool Blend. Dress trousers, $29.99 at Costco. Theory wool trousers retail for $325 at Nordstrom. Hugo Boss wool trousers retail for $295. We saved this Costco clothing find for last because the price tag difference is so large that when we first calculated it at our desk with both receipts in front of us, we went back and rechecked the numbers. Twice. This is not a casual weekend pant. This is a lined, structured dress trouser with over 60% wool in the fabric blend. The kind of trouser you wear to the office, to a business dinner, to a client meeting. The kind of trouser that, when it has a Theory or Hugo Boss label sewn inside the waistband, nobody in the room questions the price. The wool in these dress trousers starts at auction in Australia. Merino fleece, graded by micron count, is sold to spinning mills that process suiting weight fabric. The largest spinning mills for dress trouser wool are in Italy and China. They buy from the same Australian wool auctions, process on the same industrial machinery, and ship finished bolt fabric to garment factories that cut and sew for multiple fashion brands simultaneously. The Kirkland wool dress trousers have enclosed seams, a lined front panel, an elastic waistband at the back for comfort, and a hook and bar closure at the front. We pulled a pair of Theory wool trousers off the rack at Nordstrom and turned them inside out on a table. Then we did the same with the Kirkland pair right next to them. The construction details are close enough that a professional tailor would need the waistband label to tell you which trouser is which. The enclosed seams on the Kirkland pair were clean, consistent, and tight. The lining was smooth and properly attached to the interior. The hem was double-stitched. If you covered both waistband labels with your thumb, there was nothing in the garment construction that would tell you which trouser cost 11 times more. Nothing. $29.99 versus $325 for wool dress trousers. Worn twice a week for 3 years, the Kirkland trouser works out to 19 cents per wear. The Theory trouser works out to $2.08 per wear. The wool came from the same Australian auction. The fabric came from the same spinning mills. The construction follows the same pattern. 11 times the price for the same product. That is not a premium. That is a surcharge for a clothing label. And it is the clearest example we have ever found of what this entire channel exists to show you. Now, we promised we would tell you what does not hold up in the Costco clothing section, and here it is. The printed tops and graphic tees from guest brands at Costco, names like Mondetta and Weatherproof Vintage, are not in the same league as the Kirkland Signature garments. The prints on these shirts are transfer applied rather than reactively dyed, which means the graphic sits on top of the fabric surface like a sticker instead of being dyed into the textile fiber. After 10 trips through the washing machine, transfer prints crack, peel, and fade. Reactively dyed prints hold their color through hundreds of wash cycles. If you pick up a printed top at Costco and the graphic feels like a plastic layer sitting on the surface rather than being part of the cotton fabric, put it back on the table. The rule is simple. Kirkland Signature clothing items are consistently well made. Guest brands at Costco are a case-by-case evaluation. Use the flip, pinch, pull method on every garment that does not say Kirkland on the label. 7 items from the Costco clothing section. The same fibers, the same factories, the same global supply chains at 3 to 11 times less than department store prices. The total Costco cost for everything on this list is under $230. The total designer equivalent cost is over $2,000. That is not a quality gap. That is a margin gap. And once you understand how the garment supply chain actually works, once you trace the same port registrations and the same micron grades and the same seam construction on clothing items with wildly different price tags, the designer label stops being a signal of quality and starts being a signal of markup. That shift in perspective is worth more than any single item on this list. Here is what we want to hear from you. Go to your closet and find your favorite Costco clothing purchase, the item you keep reaching for every week. Tell us in the comments what it is, what brand is on the label, and what you paid for it. Your recommendations are shaping what we investigate next. Subscribe so you do not miss what comes next.